Philip, ending qualified immunity in the city that has the largest police force in the country. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's a pretty bold step. Qualified immunity, it's an easy target in some ways because it has bipartisan support. That the way that it's being used and interpreted is just grotesque. For folks who are not sort of following it closely, what it means is that if an officer does a thing that absolutely looks like it's terrible and absolutely violates the law, but no specific case says that they couldn't have done that prior, they get away with it. Right. So unless there's a specific case law that says, yep, that was a thing that officers are not allowed to do, it's OK. And in New York now, you can't do that anymore. So 36,000 law enforcement officers are subject to a different legal standard than what we've had for the last several decades. I think that's good news. I think everybody I talk to who's a police chief says it's good news because it erodes public trust. If I can't hold someone accountable for killing someone in a way that would be illegal in any other profession, except law enforcement gets a special exemption, how on earth can I feel safe in that kind of environment? It's just a good news story. The hope is that it spreads across the country.
When police chiefs and communities say it's good news, it certainly is. What do you think about Baltimore no longer going after lower level crimes?
Yeah, so the way this happens is that the prosecutors are saying, hey, we're not going to prosecute this anymore. And this is actually about the fifth city that we're seeing do something like this, right? And in Berkeley, California, law enforcement has gone even further and said, we're not going to stop people for low-level traffic enforcement. We got cameras that'll send you tickets. We got big signs that say you're being watched. But the contact is just unnecessary. So in Baltimore, what's happening is law enforcement saying, well, if you're not going to prosecute it, why on earth should we make the arrests? And things are getting better. And by better, here's what I mean. It's not just that fewer people are being arrested and crime is going down. It's that we're not seeing people enter into the criminal legal system. So just earlier this week, some researchers out of Texas A&M found that when you reduce the number of misdemeanor arrests, it reduces subsequent engagement with the law. That's because getting involved with the criminal legal system makes people more likely to commit crimes later on. Our system is not actually set up to keep people safe. It's set up to punish people who have a bad set of options for the choices they make within that. And as we start to revamp the way we think about keeping ourselves safe, we're going to start punishing people less and give people the resources they need to keep themselves safe. That's why today we should be excited. Sorry, go ahead, Stephanie.
Then are we just making these things legal if technically they're illegal, but you won't be prosecuted for them? Is this the first step to changing the laws?
So it might be the first step to changing the laws, but it's another way of re-emphasizing what we've decided to enforce. So jaywalking, I know that you're in New York, so it's kind of legal in New York. But in most of the rest of the country, jaywalking is illegal. You don't go to jail for it, right? Littering is illegal. You don't go to jail for it. You get a fine, you get a stern warning, you get your community to be upset about it. There are lots of ways to say, hey, you know, this thing, we don't like it, but I don't need to put you in a cage for it. That's the thing that I think we need to be reconsidering, and that's what's happening all over the country around low-level offenses.
We are also obviously watching Derek Chauvin's trial in Minneapolis, but we know it is very, very rare to see an officer facing these kind of criminal charges. How much progress is riding on the verdict of this trial?
Well, I mean, it's been said since day one, you know, Chauvin is in the courtroom, but America is on trial. If we end up with an acquittal or a not guilty verdict here, I can't imagine the pain that's going to be in Minneapolis. I can't imagine the pain in many black communities and communities around the world who looked and saw a public lynching. If there is not accountability, and I want to be clear, there can't be justice. Justice would be George Floyd alive today. If there be accountability, then really what we're saying is we don't have systems, again, that keep us safe, where the people who are supposed to be called, the police, right, can actually show up and make sure that we go home alive. You heard yesterday someone say, I called the police on the police because I knew I was witnessing a murder. If there's not accountability for that it's very difficult to imagine how many communities go forward with the public safety systems that we've got. This is why the White House today announces $5 billion for violence prevention and gun violence prevention in particular. That's something that we should be excited about, right? The Fund Peace campaign is something we should be excited about because it's a different way of guaranteeing safety. And even if we get a conviction in this case, we got to think about all the people who've been on the stand, the children who've testified to what they saw. They don't get remedy out of this legal case. They'll get remedy, they'll get accountability when we start putting things in place that prevent this kind of thing from happening again. And the court case, it's only one small step in that direction.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.